Welcome into the CHGO Bears Podcast Training Camp Edition presented by Ray Auto Group. And we are thrilled to have our friends at Ray back with us. Ray Chevy, Ray CDJR, the entire crew, and our presenting sponsor during training camp. What's going on, Bears fans? It is report day. We are ready to go. We just got back from Halas Hall. Adam Hoge, Mark Carman, and Nicholas Moreano with you. Shout out to our diehards as well. And we got a new one on board today. Kevin is with us, the diehard family. And I'm going to give you a reason right off the bat of the show, guys, to go sign up and be a diehard if you're not already. Because starting tomorrow morning and continuing throughout training camp, the Bears Things newsletter is back. And with our guy, Pat Norton, is going to be helping us put it all together. You can get all of our content. You can get bonus contents all in there in the Bears Things newsletter, including my top thoughts every single day from camp. That's not included in the show. It's all part of the Bears Things newsletter, exclusive for CHGO diehards. So there's a reason for you right there. What's going on, boys?
Great to see you both. I'm so excited for today's show. I'm already cutting off Hoge. Just to let you know that my top 3 things are going to be a part of that diehard content all training camp long. It was so fun to write it today. Feeling the energy. Good to see you guys in your home studios as we are officially here. This is exciting.
Shit, everyone's talking about all this diehard stuff. I'm going to be having stuff as well. So you're going to get diehard content from Adam, Mark, myself. So if you're not a diehard already, I mean, this is a perfect opportunity because training camp, there was a lot of people there, you guys, and that's not going to change as we kind of go through it now that, report day is done and over with.
Yeah, which it brings us right into the show, guys. We're going to start this every single day with our best and worst from camp. Now, I can't wait till this actually has to do with practices and not just press conferences like we had today, just so everyone understands what we had today. 10:30 this morning, Matt Eberflus, Ryan Poles officially kicked off training camp with their joint press conference. This is pretty traditionally how it's done with the Bears, whether we were back in Bourbonnais or here in Lake Forest. But so they talked. Then we had a combo DJ Moore, Cole Kmet presser. Then we had a combo Tremaine Edmunds, T.J. Edwards presser. And then we had a combo Caleb Williams, Odunze presser. So 4 pressers. Every single one of them had 2 people up there. And we got through them relatively quickly, to be honest with you. So we were able to bump the show up. We were thinking it'd be more like 2 o'clock. We're doing this now around 1. And we got thoughts. We got takeaways. We got our best and worst from what we heard today. And that was it. I mean, it's not what training camp used to be. I'll get into that in a little bit. But, Nick, why don't I start with you? What was your best from today?
Yeah, so I asked Cole Kmet, DJ Moore, what's the realistic timeline for this offense? And DJ's answer, one word, tomorrow. And then Cole Kmet chimes in right away saying, yeah, the urgency, we got to get this thing going quickly. And I think that's going to be an interesting thing that the Bears are going to be balancing, I think, you guys, in terms of getting used to this offense with some veterans, obviously, around Caleb Williams, but Caleb being, the rookie quarterback that's going to be on his own timeline. So I just like the urgency that the veterans are putting on themselves to get to know this offense with Shane Waldron, to put themselves in a better position, I think, down the road to help Caleb Williams develop and learn the NFL game. So I really like that from, all the things that were said. I really liked DJ Moore and Cole Kmet's answer to that question. And then for my worst, and I think this maybe can fall into, a lot of people's worst for Bears fans, when Poles was talking about the defensive line group, he kind of brought it up himself in his opening statement. He said, we feel really comfortable with the guys we have in our roster right now. I'm excited. We're both excited to see Travis and Eric Washington really put their hands on these guys and develop them as we go through the beginning of training camp. And yes, you can feel that optimism with the guys they have in the room. Of course, you have a rookie in Austin Booker. You have DeMarcus Walker. You have, you have guys, but I think feeling really good about a group where you realistically have one proven dude in Montez Sweat, I think is a little bit overly optimistic at this point. Of course, we got to see how these guys develop and see what ends up happening. But that would be my worst from what was also said today.
Interesting. I'll jump in. My best was Tremaine Edmunds and T.J. Edwards sitting up at the podium and just sort of crystallizing in my mind that these two coming into year 2 together after an extremely productive first year for TJ. And I think, Tremaine was coming along. And I think those two, along with Sanborn, with more in front of them, Montez Sweat specifically, improving Gervon Dexter Sr., and Edmonds, being asked, like, are you guys a top 5 defense? And no hesitation, 100%. That was just sort of a nice foundational calming moment of just thinking about this team for me today. My worst, on the other hand, is, I asked about how many plays, snap count for Caleb in the preseason. Kevin Powell asked a bunch of questions there, our buddy over at WGN. And Flus's answer was like, we're going to look at how we did that in the past, 45 to 55 snaps. And, he's kind of like going off of history. And in my mind, this is not about history. This is about the now, and using the roadmap that you used before should not necessarily apply to how you handle Caleb. How does he look? How much, we want to take, I would love to hear, we want to take advantage of all the time we haven't. They mentioned all the snaps that he's going to get against the ones in the Bears defense in training camp. And that's fine. That's great. That's exactly what he should be doing. But I would have liked to have heard a little more flexibility with how they're going to handle the preseason and getting him out there. And because to me, like, to the urgency point that Nick's making, he needs to play, period. End of story. The Bears don't have the luxury, in my mind, just to put him in bubble wrap.
Yeah, and to your point, Carm, even if you are going to go off history shows you weren't ready to play week 1 last year.
Right.
So if anything, the history shows that they should probably play more than they did a year ago. And then I tend to agree with you. Like, you need to get Caleb Williams reps. And I just hope that they're not, we can get into this a little bit more in a little bit, but I just hope that they're not. We heard multiple players today talk about how good the defense is and how that's going to give them the best challenge. I think there's a lot of truth to that, but I hope they're not just like overrating that too much, and being like, oh, well, our best reps are just going to come against our own defense. Well, that gets repetitive, and you start to figure out each other's plays after a couple weeks. And it's at some point you do need to go play live bullets against another squad and get real reps, and 45 to 55 reps for me over the course of 50 days. So that's one live rep a day is essentially what we're talking about here when you average it all out, because it's 50 days until your first game when you're going to actually go out there and play a real football game. And it's not enough for me. We can talk a little bit more about that. My best, be a little weird with this, because I think in general today was sort of a lot of nothing for the first day of camp. There was a little bit of news we'll touch on here in a second, and that could have qualified as a worst. But just the guys that were brought to the podium today. Okay. Look at how it all lines up. You have DJ Moore, you have Cole Kmet, 2 highly paid, good players at their respective positions in the NFL. And then you go to the defense and you got 2 linebackers that are just really solid, consistent players. Maybe not the best in the NFL, but they are surely really good. And honestly, I think there's a small chance TJ Edwards can continue to track to the top of the top with the way he just seemingly gets better and better every year. And then you follow it up with 2 of the most exciting rookies that you could have, that you pulled out of the top 9 picks of the draft. So I think it's just almost symbolic of all these players. The only one that was here before Ryan Poles was Cole Kmet. But you fill it in with those other 5 guys with what Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus have started to build here. And I just think that it was, for the first day, not an accident that those guys were the ones that came to the podium. And it shows you this roster building and why, even if it's just from an optical perspective, of why you should be excited about the trending direction of the Chicago Bears right now. So that's my best. My worst is report day sucks. It's not what it used to be. It used to be so much more fun. You had Jay Cutler roll up in a conversion van one year. You had Tariq Cohen and his spider doing donuts and pissing off Matt Nagy 5 minutes into training camp. You used to have guys in jerseys and you could talk to everyone and everyone was in a good mood, and you really got to see the actual vibe of these guys showing up. A couple legendary, Brandon Marshall, press conferences. I know he did something off the top of my head. I mean, I can't remember what it was, but he did something weird one year. Even if you want to go beyond the Bears, remember, didn't Antonio Brown show up in a helicopter one year and like just land? Now that ended up going way south, so maybe that's not necessarily a good example. But it just, honestly, selfishly, it used to be way more fun than it is.
Hey, I rolled up in a golf cart this morning with Chris Emma and Mark Rohde, so that was exciting for me. But it wasn't like what you were just describing there, Adam.
Yeah. I'm being selfish about this one, admittedly, but the excitement of it is just not there, at least for us, and we're the conduit to the fans. So I get that they could still go on the Bears Twitter and see the pictures of the actual, guys walking in the building at the time they do, but it's just, it's not what it used to be. Even this is going to sound crazy, like the excitement of driving down to Bourbonnais that first time, which was the only time you're ever excited to drive down there, but there was excitement in the air, and you pull off the highway and you pull up into ONU and you didn't know who you're going to run into when you're going to run into them. I just miss all that. I think I'll be more excited to go to practice tomorrow. Like, that'll be fine. That excitement will all come back, but just the nostalgia of report day to me is just gone with the way it is now.
That was the word I was going with. I love Hoge nostalgia. I love thinking about a young Hoge at ONU rolling in. And you're right, by the way. The more button up you get with this stuff, the less you're going to connect with fans. Memo to the NFL. Like, that was a fun thing, seeing those dudes do all the things you just named. And I could go even further back to that. I'd be Jim McMahon reporting, Walter Payton reporting, Steve Mongo McMichael reporting. Like, that stuff was unbelievable. Platteville, Wisconsin, back in the day for us old hats around here. You're right, man. That's it. I got an honorable mention though for best of the day, and it's not just because we love working with them here at CHGO, but Cole Kmet was so damn ass professional up there today. He is gold for the Bears, not just on the field, but as far as a front-facing player to represent the organization, understand what it's all about. And one of his underlined comments, like, hey, what about the increased expectations? And he's like, dude, every year I've been here, my expectation was to go to the playoffs and win the Super Bowl. I mean, you guys might be talking about that, but my mindset has always been this. And I'm just like, this dude, he just gets it. And he barely let DJ Moore speak up there, which I don't know if that was okay with DJ, but I just listening to Cole today was like, man, this guy is an asset all over the place.
Well, you know what, though? I think part of that was DJ didn't seem really interested in giving long answers today.
True.
So, I mean, compared to them being up there together was interesting because, and DJ's usually, we never have a problem with DJ. It's not like we had a problem today. His answers were they seemed a lot shorter and subdued compared to Cole's. And so I think maybe Cole felt like he was picking it up a little bit. I don't know, but I agree with you.
Yeah, I had a new seat today along the side wall next to a Mark Rohde and company. This is like the radio reporter role, and DJ was giving the side eye to that group the whole time. He's just like, I had a different angle on his, like, what are you asking? Who are you? What am I going to say to this person? So he's a balanced, smart, calculated DJ.
I noticed that too. Like, DJ, his eyes, like, he's like, okay, what are you about to ask? And what are you about to say here? I mean, he's calculated, so it's just his personality there.
But to be fair, always available to talk.
Yep. Always.
I mean, and thoughtful throughout the season. So it's not like there's ever any issues there.
And he also gave one really, I thought, honest, interesting answer about, he was asked if Caleb is ahead or has exceeded his expectation. He's like, well, I mean, you can say that for OTAs, but that doesn't mean he's not going to have the rookie curve. We got to see what he looks like on the field. I thought it was a good, solid, just grounding of expectations for the quarterback, and just like, hey, man, I don't know. We'll have to see what he looks like. To me, it sounds like basically like I'm expecting him to go up and down all season long, like most rookie quarterbacks do, and that's just a fair expectation for anybody stepping into that spot.
There was one negative transaction today we do need to talk about, which we'll talk about on the other side of thanking some of our sponsors here. But I do have to point this out because this is the first time I am seeing our training camp logo. And is that a skull cap on the helmet? I mean, that's next level detail. I'm thinking some people might be looking at it and being like, why does that helmet look funny? But I believe that's a skull cap, those soft, shells they put over the helmets that they wear in practice, added to the detail of training camp. That is awesome.
I mean, I'm focused on the Ray Chevrolet underneath it too, because that's just an awesome sponsor for us for this training camp. But that is a good job by Steven or whoever the hell did that.
That definitely was not me. That definitely not. But yeah, is it skull cap or guardian cap?
Maybe it's guardian. What is it?
Yeah,
I think it's guardian cap. Where was I thinking skull cap? Where's that from?
What's skull cap?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. It looks like a concha. You guys ever have that? It's like the Mexican bread. No,
I'm there.
Yeah,
I'm there.
Kind of looks like that on there.
Either way, I hear they're supposed to be able to like wear those during games this year if players choose to. So maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see. Who knows?
I like this little box for Steven. This is
little Steven. Yeah, it's little Steven. He's made an appearance before, Mark.
Yeah. This is impressive. We are on a whole nother level right now.
I thought you were going to say adorable.
Yeah.
He is adorable down there. All right. We got little Steven and we got big Ray, because when it comes to finding your next vehicle, make Ray CDJR your number one draft pick this June. This is not June, July. Shop Chryslers, Dodges, Jeeps, and Rams at Ray CDJR in Fox Lake. Make the this summer event. Find the perfect vehicle, score huge savings too for a limited time. Lease the new 2024 Jeep Wrangler Willys 4xE for only $419 a month, or shop over 125 vehicles priced under 20 grand. Let the amazing team at Ray CDJR help you land the perfect vehicle at the perfect price, because with Ray's Price Promise, the numbers you're hearing now are the same prices you can expect to shop in-store and online. That's because the Ray's Price Promise means no price changing, no add-ons, and no hidden fees. Since they prioritize affordability for their customers, hurry into Ray CDJR today. Shop one of Chicago's largest inventories, then drive home with more money in your pocket than you'd expect. So if you're in the market for a new vehicle, then you have to check out the team at Ray, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, because they're the only team we recommend here at CHGO. Visit them today on Route 12 in Fox Lake. For more information, visit Ray CDJR in Fox Lake or raycdjr.com, serving the community since 1963.
The only wireless phone service we recommend here is Mint Mobile, because after years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by overpriced wireless providers, you guys, we've learned anything is that there's always a catch with some of those people. So when I heard for a limited time, all Mint Mobile wireless plans are $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, I thought, as usual, what's the catch? But after talking to them, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they sell wireless service online. They don't have retail stores or salespeople. Instead, they deliver premium phone plans directly to you. And so when I was, going through my phone providers and seeing what I could do, I made the switch to Mint Mobile. So I said bye-bye to some of those overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting again, $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. So again, ditch the overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's limited time deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/CHGO. That's mintmobile.com/CHGO. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/CHGO. $45 upfront, payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
All right, couple transactions and things that have changed already since Ryan Poles talked this morning, because he gave us the things we already knew, which was that Karan Amagaji, the 3rd-round pick for the Chicago Bears, was going to start on the non-football injury list. And then he also mentioned Chroma. Am I saying that right? Chroma? Who? I believe so. Yeah, you're
nailing it. The Chrome.
He's going on PUP. Well, that's already changed, because he said he's got an issue with his finger. It was a small operation. Don't have a timetable for his return. Well, apparently he's already off pup a couple hours later. And then meanwhile, the big one is that Gerald Everett goes on NFI, and that was not mentioned earlier, although polls did say guys are checking in now. They're going to run their conditioning test this afternoon, so there could be updates to the list. And apparently that is one of the updates, that Gerald Everett, one of the significant offseason signings with history in Shane Waldron's offense and the ability to be more of that kind of U tight end and pass catcher in this offense, starts on the NFI, and there was no reason given. So, not the best.
It almost sounds like they didn't know he was going to be there. I don't know, Nick, where you're going to go with this.
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking about, we don't know exactly what Gerald Everett's dealing with or what's going on there, but they don't have a lot of depth on the tight end group. Yes, you have Marseilles Lewis, but way different player than what Gerald Everett is in terms of what you're asking for in this offense. But I don't know if there's any reason to be concerned with not knowing what is actually going on with Everett. So yeah, just obviously something to monitor as we see what his status is moving forward there.
Well, it's just surprising to me because something had to have happened, because he was very good at OTAs. Like I noticed him a bunch. His speed was evident. He was getting the ball. I mean, I wouldn't say a ton, but plenty. And so something had to have happened between then and now, because he was practicing and looking good. So something's changed.
Yeah, and I'm kind of learned not to guess on these things. We'll see if we get more information tomorrow. Sometimes they know something's going on, and I would have thought they would have given us that information earlier, though, but it kind of just depends. I mean, you saw how the Nate Davis thing was handled last year, where it's like everybody was just kind of guessing for a long time. And we don't know what this is. It could be back tomorrow. Sometimes that happens. But NFI is for non-football injuries, which is also interesting because Karan Amagaji gets that designation. I think that's just because his was a football injury, but it was suffered before he was a Bear, before he was in the NFL. So that makes him eligible for NFI. And in Gerald Everett's case, it has to be something that wasn't from a football injury. So, I mean, sometimes guys are dealing with different things. They suffer injuries not playing football, doing other things. I mean, there's so many different things. It's not even worth guessing that it could be, but it is the significant news that's come out since Flus and Poles talked this morning.
And let's, it's not Cole Kmet, it's not DJ Moore, it's not Rome Odunze, it's not Caleb Williams, but Gerald Everett should be, a lot bigger part of this offense, I would think, than Robert Tonyan was last year. Let's at least hope he was, because, we barely saw Robert Tonyan. But I Shane Waldron likes 2 tight end sets. You mentioned, he knows the offense. So it's not a nothing injury. I don't think anyone's really taking it that way, but it's a little disappointing, because I do think he can be, a guy that catches, 30 balls this year, somewhere around there.
Especially, too, because Everett and Waldron overlapped, right? Back in their, I think it was with the Rams, where they overlapped a little bit. So I think when you're thinking of what can Everett bring to the offense to complement Cole Kmet, it would be a lot more, you would hope, than a guy like Robert Tonyan. So, yeah, it's not the biggest piece, but it is a piece of the roster here.
We miss Greg Braggs, but we have him now in a $2 super chat. Hoge, Everett out, season's over. He's kidding, but you will put some respect on Gerald Everett's name, Gregory P. Allen Braggs.
I just am getting a kick out of the fact that he's in the Wrigley Field bleachers right now, super chatting this show.
Well, he made it to the bleachers? Good for him.
I saw a photo of him in the bleachers.
Did they?
I also saw a photo of him and Zach Zaidman.
Yeah, I saw that.
In the press box? Was he granted access there?
No.
Because he should have been, damn it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Look, Robert Tonyan giving the Bears nothing out of that position last year was a problem. And it was a big problem for Cole Kmet, who basically had to play both tight end positions and take on a huge load. And he was beat up by the end of the year. So this is a significant thing, but also, like I said, let's give this 24 to 48 hours to marinate a little bit, see if we can get a little bit more information on how significant it is. Sometimes guys are back the next day, by tomorrow morning's practice. And then other times it's a thing. So we just don't know right now. We'll continue to track that and keep that updated for you from that regard. I want to talk about Hard Knocks a little bit. Can we shift to that?
Absolutely.
Because it's impossible to ignore the Hard Knocks presence. There's extra vehicles outside. My favorite thing is they ride around in ATVs. Like most people drive around in golf carts around training camp, and they have those Polaris like heavy duty ATVs, like they're about to drive through the woods, which maybe they are. There are a lot of trees around there. And then the cameras, I don't know about you guys. I sat down on my seat and there was a camera guy 3 feet away from me, and all of a sudden the camera was pointed right at my face. And I was like, that's weird. You can do better content than that. So, and that was before the press conference even started. That was just me sitting down on my laptop. I don't know. If there was a buzz from the 2 rooms we got to be in today on report day, it was just the fact that Hard Knocks was there, and it was a crowded place to be.
I'm waiting for them to reach out to me for the exclusive that they want to do with at the Carm, and quite frankly, I'm a little surprised it hasn't happened yet. After
you do know the show is about the team and the players.
Yeah, but that's been there, done that. Let's go think outside the box, Hard Knocks, and what I could provide. I'm going to do everything I can to get on the show, ruin the show, make the show better, everything that you can imagine. It did feel like, I don't know, a little bit different there today, I suppose, with Hard Knocks. The players were asked about it. I'm excited about Adam Hoge sitting there yesterday drinking his coffee and wondering whether or not everybody else is watching the Giants on the offseason Hard Knocks with Joe Sheen, who I think their GM, who I actually think is Adam Hoge's twin and or want to be him, which I told you at practice today. I think you want to be him. I think you want a very big fancy desk and put your phone there and just make calls and just and have these high level conversations and deal with the reality and just I think it's a good spot for you. I see you as a general manager.
Sounds stressful.
Yeah,
it looks stressful based off the episode.
And I would put my money on Ryan Poles keeping his job longer than Joe Shane right now.
We got plenty of GMs in the NFL that don't know what they're doing, and watching this show, I feel like you can do it.
You're saying I can have that job and I just would not know what I'm doing. So that's pretty accurate.
I mean, all they did was lay out who was a free agent, and this guy's $5 million, this guy's $6 million, and then you had the head coach Brian Dable saying how many sacks last year did Brian Burns have? And I'm like, what am I, the head coach of the New York Giants? The guy doesn't know how many. I mean, it doesn't seem that difficult.
That was interesting.
That was actually crazy to me because the Brian Burns thing has been part of the first 3 episodes, going back to a conversation he was having with the Panthers GM back at the Senior Bowl. And they're those guys are best friends too. Those 2 GMs are seriously, their kids are friends together. And I'm like, you're not having this conversation with Brian Dable until the morning of free agency starting? What? And they're going through, well, we can have this guy. I think this seems like a meeting that should have happened a month ago. What is going on here? I found that to be so weird.
And I wonder too, I mean, now obviously the Bears are going to be in Hard Knocks. They're obviously there. I wonder what they're going to reveal in terms of, that behind the scenes content that we're not seeing when we're there, but will be, just put out there for everybody to see. So I wonder too, yes, all the, the players recognize it. And I think T.J. Edwards was asked something along the lines of, do you act any differently? He's like, no. I feel like, I don't know, when that cameras are around, wouldn't you, I don't know if you feel less guarded, but they're going to try to be themselves, but I'll see. It'll be interesting to see how they actually do that as the cameras are everywhere, literally everywhere.
I know that I am significantly different when somebody is watching me versus when no one's watching me.
Right.
And I'm my behavior goes off a cliff. So I do think that Hard Knocks being there is going to change the way some people go about their business. I thought it, with the Giants thing, I think it changes how Brian Dable is. He's just very reserved in that room with Joe Sheen. So I don't know. I think it's definitely going to have some level of impact on how the Bears do their training camp.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it was just very noticeable. Now, granted, we're in a relatively small room, but so if you're in the big auditorium and the team meeting, which is taking place at 2:00 today, do you notice the cameras as much? I don't know. A lot of those cameras in like the team rooms and stuff are fixed. Like they put those are already pre-installed. So I'm not sure. Maybe we're making a bigger deal out of it than the players are. And I have already heard from people inside the building that like HBO makes it's really NFL Films, but the NFL Films guys that are there doing it, as much as we saw them today, they really do try to blend into the building because they want it to be as authentic as possible. So they try not to pre-plan stuff too much. They try to make it, where they're just sort of filming as it unfolds and then going back and editing it after that. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I can't wait to see what the final product is. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep just drooling over this Giants Hard Knocks because it's fascinating to me and I love it.
One more on it. I know we have some important people that we want to thank in a second here, but the Giants owner, John Mara, coming in there around the Saquon Barkley stuff and being like, I'm going to have a hard time if he lands in the division. That's our most popular player. And there is an actual real owner just kind of strolling into the GM's office. And by the way, I can't imagine George McCaskey doing anything remotely like that. Like that dude was actually in there with the real angst of losing a popular player like that. It was, that was an interesting part of the episode for sure.
And then he lost him to the Eagles.
Right.
The owner was like
the worst.
The owner is basically like, all right, if we lose him, we lose him, but I just can't deal with him going to the Eagles. Then he went to the Eagles, and then he like awkwardly left the room after that happened.
Yeah,
and
right.
I would have been like, I think I just got fired. I think I just got fired.
And he said as you walked out, I'm okay. It's okay. Like he gave him the assurance, you're not fired. I'm just gonna have to deal with the reality that I didn't want to deal with. And that was interesting too, because when the GM's talking to the agent, he's like, "Can you give me a hint where he's going, like in the division?" Because the Eagles rumors were there, and I think he wanted to be able to tell his owner that he wasn't going to Philadelphia, but he couldn't tell him that because he was.
He said he wanted to mentally prepare. That's why he wanted them to know. Like he wanted to mentally prepare. So
yeah. And by the way, there was one tiny little Bears nugget that I think appeared to be false, but. Because he goes, the word is the Bears are driving up the price and the Eagles are out.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know if that's true or not. And obviously half of that became definitely not true because the Eagles signed them. They obviously weren't out. But that speaks to, remember when we were doing our show that day on the first day of free agency, there was like that noise that the Bears were in on Barkley. And so there you go. Maybe that's the same information.
Yeah, and that was interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because it does seem like the Bears were in there to a point, and then they pivoted and obviously and signed Swift. But it seems like they were around the periphery at bare minimum.
Well, guys, I know what I'm doing tonight because it's a Friday night and it's still beautiful in the city. And this time of year, it is grilling season. We know this. Get your pork. People who are active need more protein than the average American. In fact, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the dietitians of Canada, and the American College of Sports Medicine recommend 1.2 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. Carm, quick, do the math on that for yourself. But that's for athletes, so maybe you don't need to do it. Depending on training, for a 150-pound person, that comes out to 81 to 136 grams of protein per day. 1 3-ounce serving of pork provides 23 grams of high-quality protein that can help active individuals build and preserve muscle. The International Society of Sports Nutrition recommends that people who are involved in a general fitness program or are interested in optimizing their health eat low-fat, high-quality sources of protein, which includes lean cuts of pork, of course. Our friend Grillin' with Dad will be here, and they're going to show how it's done, cooking up some great recipes. Elevate your protein game with lean pork, a powerhouse of natural goodness. Savor the flavor, savor the gains, and celebrate any occasion by enjoying the best pork produced by Illinois pig farmers. From your sausage and bacon for breakfast to pulled pork or juicy chops hot off the grill, it's an entire season dedicated to pork and the people behind the product, paid for by the Illinois pork producers' generations of commitment.
All right, after you enjoy some delicious pork, for a little post game, why don't you dial up Sunnyside? What is Sunnyside? Well, it's your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore and discover and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need for your summer. It's the one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs. They have an expertly curated menu, 100 strains to choose from. Literally anything you want, they've got it. It's Illinois' favorite dispensary. There's locations in the city, Wrigleyville, River North, suburbs, Champaign, South Beloit, all over. And they are here for the summer, and this is a good news tea time disposable vape as well. It's bringing the classic lemonade flavor that's perfect for the golf course, because we all need a little help staying loose on the greens. By the way, we have a golf event coming up on Monday. Hoge will be there. Head to sunnyside.shop. Use that code HICHGO at checkout, and you get 35% off your favorite brands like the Cresco and the Good News and all the others, as you can elevate yourself on your first purchase. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day. Only for 21 and older or Illinois medical card holders.
All right. We probably should get into some more takeaways from the press conferences that we heard today. I don't know about you guys. I'm just sort of at the point where I want to see practices. And, I think there were a few things worth pointing out today, but in general, there weren't any huge takeaways than what we already hit off the top of the show.
All right, so let me jump in here because I thought everything that was said today was fairly interesting, and I could do a 5-hour show on the press conference because I do love breaking down what people say. One, let's start with Caleb, and he was asked about his contract negotiations, and he wasn't going in detail with it, but he's like, well, I learned a whole lot, and I want to thank the people that were there. It sounded like those negotiations went on forever. He said like something about midnight, so I think there was a lot of talks going on there, and he said he learned something for the next time. So I would, the next time is a long time from now, but I was trying to figure out, I don't know if you guys were, is he angry with the Bears over it? Does he feel like they tried to squeeze him? I couldn't get a great feel for it, but I thought that was, I thought it was interesting that, they did it for a while, and he's saying he's learning stuff. And, Courtney Cronin was asking about representing himself. A lot went on there. I have no idea exactly what, but there a lot of stuff were going on in those negotiations that we're never really going to know about. But I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, another interesting point when Ryan Poles was asked about the comfort of the O-line, he mentioned all the offensive linemen except for Nate Davis. And here's his answer. He said, I feel really good about the offensive line. Obviously, we're excited about Darnell to take that next step. I know he has an opportunity to be pretty special. Braxton's coming along and continue to get better. Then we have Bates and Coleman competing inside. I think there's an opportunity that they can be really talented deep. I guess he also doesn't mention Tevin in there as well, but just interesting how he's kind of looking at his offensive line group, feeling really good about the unit, even though there's still, I think, some question marks that need to be answered throughout training camp, especially at center and, right guard. to me, you guys, is just not a locked in, penciled in, like Nate Davis is that guy, because Ryan Bates is here. He's played a lot of snaps at right guard as well. So I thought that was interesting how he approached that answer, but also just not mention Nate Davis.
Yeah. And that is noticeable. Obviously we'll be tracking that in camp, but he wasn't put on any kind of list, at least to start camp. Carm, back to the contract stuff. My read on that is, I think it would be a huge stretch to think that either side had developed any level of animosity whatsoever towards each other during that. I think how it unfolded was completely predictable and completely how I would have said that it came right down to the wire. You have Caleb, who obviously has an interest in learning about these things. And being a part of it, even though he kind of downplayed his role back in OTAs, like, I'm just going to have my people handle that. He revealed today that it became more of, at least when it got down to the final days of the negotiations, he talked about what Carm hinted at, that he was in the room and that he was a part of it until midnight for it sounded like a couple days. And that's interesting. But when you have a group of people that are not certified NFL agents, and certainly Caleb, most notably, is of whoever those lawyers are involved, not even a lawyer, it's going to make things a little murky. And Ryan Poles said, I learned with the Roquan situation, it's going to take more time, and you're probably going to have a little bit more back and forth and probably a little bit more agitation just dealing with somebody who doesn't do this all the time as smoothly as the NFLPA certified agents do, because they're involved in these conversations. You've talked to the same agents about same players all the time. And this is just a different thing. So I find it interesting that Caleb was as involved this week. I think whatever they asked for, and a couple things have been reported, Ryan Poles kind of downplayed that, being like, people ask for stuff all the time. And when it was all said and done, this kind of turned out to be a nothing, and it was done.
Well, Poles, to your point, Adam, is right with you. Like, this was normal, standard. There's nothing to see here. And maybe I'm overreading into it, but when he said something for next time, I do think he's filing away a couple of things that perhaps he would have done differently in the moment. And good for him. Poles underlined too. He's a smart guy. This is, Caleb is no dummy. You're part of the whole package. You're not just the arm strength. It's not just the mobility. It's not just his work ethic. The dude's got a lot of brain power going along with it. So, and I think he looks at himself as kind of his own little corner of new athlete, and how, he's advanced, evolved thinking. And I'm not saying that there's animosity here at all. I that would be, to the way you started the conversation, yes, a big leap. But I also think, I don't think he was in love with everything that went on in that process either. I think that's at least a somewhat fair guesstimate takeaway of what went on.
Well, that would make sense. I mean, ultimately, Caleb didn't get what he was asking for, right? But, just reading Poles' transcript here on the contract negotiation, what the process was like with the agentless Caleb, it seems like it was overall positive, because he's, again, for the situation, it was positive. It was continue to educate, continue to communicate at a high level. And he said, so I'm glad it all worked out. So I think that's obviously where the good thing out of this situation. But for next time, filing it away, Caleb. Now he knows how to maybe get what he wants for that second contract.
Go ahead.
Just a couple of things that maybe are not as important, but I just wanted to address. One has to do with Cole Kmet's expectations, we could get to in a second. But I think we also need to clear up some things about this Bears defense, okay? Because like most people, I am very bullish on this defense, and I think they have the potential to be a top 5 defense. But can somebody fact check DJ Moore that they have definitely not been a top 5 defense the last 3 years, or even close? Maybe for a few games last year they were, but there's a lot of overhyping being done right now, and I feel like a lot of it's coming from that locker room.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not even us. It's a lot of the guys on offense saying it's top 5 defense, top 5 defense. Now, what I do love though is when Nicholas Moreano asked Tremaine Edmunds, "Do you view this as a top 5 defense?" And he says 100%, as clear as day, was his response. I mean, I want them to believe it, but I think they're getting a little over their skis and definitely overrating what it has been so far.
Yeah, and like that answer from Tremaine, like as you guys know, Tremaine Edmunds, when he gets a question, he can go on for months on just answering one question. So it was interesting how he answered that one 100%. Like there's that belief in that locker room that defense views itself as a top 5 unit. I think they got to do a lot to actually be statistically a top 5 unit. But to what you were saying, Adam, the players on offense, on defense, truly believe this defense can be one of the best, if not the best, in the NFL in 2024. But I think, again, there's still some steps that this unit has to take to get to that level.
Well, and along those lines, can you pop Gary's super chat back up there, Stephen, about Yannick Ngakoue? Because this is, are they gonna add or not? And here, Gary's 49. Not sure why the big deal over what Poles said about defensive end Yannick. He didn't sign until August 4th last year. Poles waiting out prices on the free agent ends. Where are you guys at? Because I don't have a great feel here. Are they adding somebody or are they not adding somebody?
I didn't know there was a big deal here, to be honest with you. They're doing exactly what I've been telling you guys they're going to be doing, and it's the smart thing to do. You don't need to rush into this. To Gary's point, they signed Yannick in August last year. I even felt like it was later than that. I'm not doubting what Gary's saying. I'm sure it was August 4th, but it feels like it was even later than that. They've done this with other positions in the past, like when they signed Jason Peters. You do not need to rush into these things this time of year. If guys didn't sign back in March, a lot of times they sit both sides. The teams aren't in a rush to sign these guys, and the players are not in a rush to get to a camp and sweat out training camp. Nope. So the smart thing to do here, if you're the Bears, is exactly what they're doing. How much better has Dominique Robinson gotten? What can DeMarcus Walker give you if he has to be the number 2 guy the whole time? What do you have in rookie Austin Booker, who I think we're all pretty excited about this? You bring in Yannick Ngakoue tomorrow, and all he's doing is taking up practice reps. You know what he is. Look at what's already on your roster, and you might be surprised. You might say, oh, crap, we have a Braxton Jones, so we can plug and play right away. And even if he's not an all-pro, he's a starter. So I don't get this at all either. I wasn't surprised by Ryan Poles' answer today. In fact, I loved his answer. They're going to take a look at this for a few weeks, probably a couple preseason games. And if all of a sudden we're sitting here doing our post-practice shows being like, they have a problem. They don't have a number 2 defensive end. They'll go sign somebody, possibly Yannick Ngakoue, who looked pretty good once Montez Sweat got here last year.
And you guys can help me out with this because I'm tweeting and listening, so I'm missing some of it. I got to go back and watch the press conferences again. But he didn't, correct me if I'm wrong here, he didn't rule out that they would add somebody. He says he's always looking, right?
Yep.
So if they really wanted to have Yannick Ngakoue, if he felt it was an absolute must, they would have signed him by now. But he obviously doesn't look at him that way. That's how I see it. Like, look, yeah, we might lose him, and we'll be fine if we do.
I think the exact quote that Poles said when asked about the D line, but we will always have our eyes on the list of players that we can potentially bring in. So, yeah, it's definitely an option. And look, Yannick knows the defense, too. They've added Eric Washington, who obviously is very familiar with the defense being the DC, but he does know the defense, knows what it's going to look like when and if he rejoins the Bears in late August or late July, whenever it may happen, if it does happen. So, it would just be nice to know that I think another guy is in that room because I'm skeptical of just the guys that they currently have opposite of Montez Sweat.
Yeah. And then the other thing I teased on Cole Kmet, respect to Cole, because I don't think he's just saying it. I think he really means it when he says that my expectation every year I've been here is to go to the playoffs and win a Super Bowl. That has not changed. And he explained the benefit of doing that, which is when the expectations rise outside the building, they don't rise inside, because that's how you end up putting too much pressure on yourself. And it's like, oh, crap, we can actually maybe do this year. if you keep that same mentality each and every year, then you're not surprised by it when those real expectations are there from the outside. Now, that being said, if Cole Kmet thought they were going to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, then he's out of his mind.
Sure, but it's the right attitude.
I know, I'm giving him credit, but
I know, I got it.
Come on, man.
I'm sure deep down he knew that no, the Tooth Fairy wasn't real and the Bears weren't going to the Super Bowl. But it's still the right attitude. I'm in an uncomfortable spot officially with Cole because I kind of every time he talks, I like him more and more. And it's like I don't want to put him on this huge pedestal, but like literally every time he speaks, it's like, that's what you wanted a player. That's awesome. Totally agree. You're awesome, Kmet. Like, it's just like, Jesus, the guy he's so on point.
Did you just call him Jesus?
He might be. He's coming down from the heavens, man.
I think you just said he's like Jesus.
I'm gonna talk to him about this. When I get the opportunity this year, on the show, he's too perfect. He can't be this perfect, but he's
we
damn
talked
good
about that, Mark. We talked about that. Like he plays tight end in the NFL. He looks the way he looks. He makes all this money. Like, come on, leave some for the rest of us. Cole, the hell, dude.
He's singing at concerts. He's getting engaged. He's a great friend to CHGO. I mean, this guy is he's something. And you're right, Total Anarchy. I'm not his type, and he's not my type either. Total, but I'm still in love with him. The guy's amazing. This guy's this guy's incredible.
We know.
Exactly right, Charlie the Bacon guy, our softball king. He probably likes bacon too, extra crispy, the perfect way. Guy cooks up a great bacon.
Oh my God!
All right, I'm sorry. I did. I don't know where you go from there on that one, there, Hoge. But you have the same feeling. You have the same feelings too. Admit it. You love Kmet. Everybody loves Kmet.
Can we talk about just stop?
Okay.
For the love of God. Can we talk about the quarterback just a little bit more?
We sure can.
That's probably more
because
go ahead.
There are a couple things, and one is it sounds obvious, but I did like Ryan Poles' message about, okay, we gave you all these tools around you. Rely on the help you have around you. Do not feel like you have to do it all. But not only that, Poles saying that, but I like Caleb's been the guy forever, and he's always frequently had to be in positions where he does have to do everything, even when he does have help around him, because he did have Marvin Mims a few years back, and he used him, but also there were plays where he's like, screw it, I just got to tuck this ball and run it for a touchdown myself. And he had Jordan Addison too and things like that, but we saw how last season ended. I like at least how he's talking right now in terms of not rushing this. He said progression is key. Mm-hmm. Keep doing that over time, and I'll be able to reach the goals at the end of my career. And we can reach the goal at the end of the year as a team. So when he's talking about his own improvement, that's where he's coming from. And, but he's also saying things like, nobody puts more pressure on myself. Nobody's harder on myself than myself. When he does have a bad day, that came up in the press conference today. But it does seem like they're on a good path. I think the big question I have right now goes back to sort of how we started the show with the preseason reps, and we're not going to know for a while now, but I just hope they're not too guarded about that, because I don't think they got enough reps last year, and I think it's even more important this year for them to get reps. I'm not saying go crazy, but it's you, and they also have the benefit of an extra game as well.
If they didn't learn anything from last year, then that's just sad. I'm assuming they did. You started the season 0-4. You didn't look remotely ready week 1. You were in a straight embarrassment in week 3. You blew a game in week 4 that you should have won. And I'm not saying you could have fixed all that in the preseason, but they were not ready to go at the start of the year, and they did so. However, they feel like they should be better. I would like to start hearing something along the lines of, well, there's some things that we'd like to do a little bit different here. I want to bring up one thing that along the Flus lines to where, they asked Ryan Poles the goals for the year. And he didn't say make the playoffs. The word he used was improvement. I'd like to see, a steady improvement. So I think he's like raising the bar for Flus on some level, but also trying to, keep things level at the same time. Like, yes, we better be better this year. Won 7 games last year, but he didn't put it like strictly on wins. He just wants to see quote unquote improvement. I thought that was kind of a well massaged answer, if you will.
I think it aligns with how Caleb, though, like Adam, you said progression. They're looking at that way. Like it's literally a day by day. Like, let's get the offense down today, build off of it in training camp. I think Flus was saying day one, when you look at it, how they kind of start the offense from day 50 when the season starts, you should see the gradual growth, which, I think would coincide with that improvement that they ultimately want to see when the season ends. It was also interesting, though, Adam, too, when Caleb was asked about how early do you want to learn this offense? He's like, I want to learn it fast. So it's like you're progressing, but you also want everything right now. It's going to be an interesting balance, because we also do the answer that Cole and DJ answered about learning this offense. They want it tomorrow. So you have these veterans. It's like, yes, it needs to be a gradual approach, I think, especially for the quarterback, but they do need to start getting this offense, start gelling so that they don't have that slow start. So that going 0-4 to begin a season. They need to have the offense at somewhat of a good level so that by the end of the season, where there's that gauntlet, they feel a lot better than where they started. So it's going to be a really interesting balance of how they do this with Shane Waldron throughout the season.
Yep. Well said. And I think that's always the kind of the tricky thing, especially when you have a lot of veterans that haven't necessarily won a whole lot, but are in places to be eager and, really get some reward for the work that they put in, mixed with the reality of a rookie quarterback who's going to go through struggles sometimes. And that's just the way it's going to be. But I do think they all acknowledge that there's a window here that's wide open for more than one season. And that goes back to something else that came up with polls, which is always trying to balance short-term decisions with long-term goals and vision. And that's what makes you feel good about him in the position he's in compared to whatever we're seeing on that Giants Hard Knocks right now. Like, just watching that, do you think that they were prepared at all for Kevin Byard becomes available last second, and you see how the Bears like pounced on that? And I don't know, just watching the Giants side of things, I'm like, I don't know that they would be ready for that.
That seems a little stretchy for an Adam Hoge take. I'm a little bit. I mean, I feel like Joe Sheet seems like a pretty smart guy, but if you want to say the Bears brass is better than the Giants brass, I'm not going to push back on you, brother.
Well, I do want to say that. I believe it.
Do you?
Why wouldn't I?
I don't know, man. I'm impressed by Joe Sheen. He hired.
Well, first of all, his name's Joe Shane.
Whatever. Sheen, weird spelling. I've heard it said a million different ways. Fine. What is it? Shane? Okay.
Shane.
Joe Shane. The Shane daddy. Shane Diesel. Shane accountants. The guy reminds me of if I was going to hire somebody to do my taxes, I'd consider him at the top of the list. But I don't know, man. Would you? No one's going to want to hear this conversation right now, but I'll do it. Would you rather have right now Brian Daboll, Matt Eberflus? Who would you rather have?
I know at the time I wanted Daboll.
Yeah,
at
the time I wanted Daboll, but I didn't necessarily want Shane over Poles.
But Poles hired the Flus. Poles hired Flus. Shane hired Daboll. Daboll is asking insane.
I'd rather
questions.
have the Bears combo right now than the Giants combo.
Okay, that's cute. That's fine.
Especially the quarterback, especially the quarterback situation. which is what really matters, if we're being honest.
That's obviously not a part of this equation and a no-brainer. And
but Joe Shane's the one who gave it. Joe Shane's the one who gave Daniel Jones all that money.
Yes, sure, but he also wasn't in the same spot where he had a number one pick that he could trade. And if we're going to go down that road, look, nobody wants to talk about this either. But the Bears passed, and everybody else did too. Maybe the Panthers, maybe the Texans would have taken Bryce Young, but we have passed on CJ. Freaking guy looks like he's going to be incredible. I hope Caleb's better than him, but that's a big long putt right now for him to hit. And total anarchy, you're right. Like he was unbelievable 2 years ago. Last year was a turn down. But all I'm saying is that the Shane daddy hired the bearded guy who was interesting, asking incredible questions to the quarterback. Let me ask this about Flus. And I don't want to be too hard on the Flus because the Flus is adorable. But when he said today, Hoge, that or Nick, anyone, that I want to lead from the front and we're going to give you the keys to the car. Do you have any idea
that all the time?
What the hell does that mean? What does it mean? I don't even know.
He's empowering his players, regardless of status, if they're rookie, second-year player, third, to be leaders and not followers. That's what I got out of it. I don't know if anybody got anything differently, but regardless of who you are, you should be a leader in the room as opposed to being a follower.
Which is why, Carm, this is exactly why I know you've never read The Wisdom of the Bullfrog.
I have not, and I loved it when Paul's like, I read the Wisdom of the Bullfrog. I was instantly Googling that and tweeting that from the Bears account.
I don't want to trigger
anyone, me about no, you're not.
Does anyone know what book this is?
No. The Captain
Class by Sam Walker. This was the book that Ryan Pace had his entire staff read or whatever. He made Mitch Trubisky read it. I think that's what the story was. He made Mitch Trubisky read the Captain Class. And I don't know. When Ryan Poles brought up The Wisdom of the Bullfrog today, I just had like a tingly thing go down my spine that I didn't necessarily enjoy.
We're all going to get the book, right?
But I'm going to have to go order it on Amazon now and read it.
I think we should read it, and then we should have like a diehard Discord story time Wisdom of the Bullfrog led by Greg Braggs. If he's
what the funniest thing about the Wisdom of the Braggs, that would be a book.
Braggs is a bullfrog wisdom.
I am not going to lie. The Captain Class didn't finish it.
Yeah.
I don't even think I got halfway through it.
The fact
just like every other textbook I had in school too.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to do it right now. How's that? I'm going Wisdom of the Bullfrog, Barnes and Noble. Not giving you my money, Amazon, even though I'm a Prime member. It's disgusting how much $14 billion going to that company that doesn't pay taxes. Courts overturning student loans. What is this country coming to? All right, never mind. I'm going to get myself the Wisdom of the Bullfrog, and I will report back to you what I learned of what wisdom I've gained from the Bullfrog. Thank you, Crystal. You're in too. Crystal's getting it. Gary Ross better be buying the Wisdom of the Bullfrog right damn now.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog. All right. Ben has a super chat here. Can you guys speak to the differences in roster designation during camp, NFI, PUP, and what that means for the rest of camp? Thank you. NFI, non-football injury. We touched on this earlier, and I believe there's still a deadline where you got to make a designation for roster purposes later on in camp. PUP has changed a little bit. PUP, you used to have to do the same thing. You'd be out the first 6 weeks if you stayed on PUP once final cuts were made. And I don't know that that's still the case. So in conclusion, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Most times with NFI, PUP, these guys end up coming off a little bit later. And then we'll kind of cross that bridge when we get there. But basically, they create these lists. The whole point is so that you can add somebody to your roster. It takes a guy off the roster temporarily, so you can add somebody else and use that roster spot. But then on the back end, you have to eventually come off that list, or you have to miss a certain amount of games.
Great. that's my reaction.
Exactly. Jesse 499. Caleb's mental is in the right place, not too high. Fields and not too low. Trubisky, he understands he'll make mistakes, but he'll also make plays. There you go.
Yeah, Jesse, thank you. You're spot on. The dude, if Caleb doesn't make it in the NFL, it ain't going to be because of his mental makeup. He is rock solid. So, every time the guy talks, I'm like, okay, this is the dude. Let's go.
That's it for supers. There you go. I do have one shout out. Unless you guys have anything else here.
Yeah. No.
What's the shout out?
For just, I didn't know if Carm wanted to sing a song to our new diehard Kevin. Or
well, listen, the K-Dog is coming in at the right time, and we've really needed Kevin. And I've been waiting for Kevin. And there's a lot of people out there that don't have great timing. Kevin does have great timing. First day of training camp to be here to lead us into it. And we're going to be relying on Kevin. So I'm just super excited that Kevin is on board. And I thank Kevin. And I thank you, future diehards, because the more the merrier. You are the engine that drives this ship. You are the reason we're here. Thank you to the diehards. And I will be giving every effort to make my content that I'm putting behind the diehard paywall the best content that you can possibly get, along with everything else we're doing from Nick and Hoge and Greg Braggs' adult entertainment that he's doing somewhere later tonight.
To be clear, that is not part of being a diehard. We want people to sign up.
True.
Not, ask for a refund. So there will not be adult entertainment from Greg Braggs.
This is a family company. Strike that from the record.
There will be a Bears Things newsletter in your inbox if you sign up right now, though. It'll be there tomorrow morning and continue to be there throughout training camp as we react to each one of these practices. Can't wait for tomorrow's 9:30 practice, and we're not stopping over the weekend. We got a show for you tomorrow when practice is over. We'll break it all down for you. Before we get there, though, so here's my story. And shout out to the new movie Twisters. Loved it. It was great. It's sort of like Top Gun Maverick was to Top Gun, where it's kind of its own thing. Like it's now Top Gun had more crossover because obviously Tom Cruise was still in it. This is a completely different cast. But it is still kind of that same idea where, it's like a sequel from 25 years ago or whatever, but it's still its own new movie, just kind of done with today's effects and stuff. So it was really good. I enjoyed it, highly recommend it. But I think my wife is going to kill me. So when Top Gun came out, Top Gun Maverick, Nick highly recommended that I go re-see it again in a 4DX theater, which for people not familiar, your seats like move with the movie. There's like effects you feel with the movie. And I have regretted that I did not make it back and experience that. So for this with Twisters, I bought these tickets like 2 weeks ago. Like I was ready to go. It's the night before training camp starts. We're going on a date night right before camp starts. My wife is terrified of tornadoes. Okay. But before you judge me on that, she loved the movie Twister. So it's kind of a conundrum there, but she wanted to go see the movie, but she's definitely terrified of tornadoes. And to the point that even as we're walking into this movie theater, guys, she's checking the skies, which were perfectly blue. Like some tornado is going to hit us in the middle of this movie theater on a perfectly beautiful day. Now, with that in mind, I am starting to panic about this idea of the seats moving and jostling around and adding to, and immediately within like 10 minutes of the movie, I'm like, she's not enjoying this. This is not a good thing. And I got to be honest, I could see how 4DX was cool for Top Gun. I found it distracting. By the time we're in like the 7th tornado of the movie, you're like, okay, I get it. My seat's moving, but I'm not really in it. Can you just stop moving so I can watch the movie? So I did find it a little distracting. I don't know if I would highly recommend that for people. I recommend the movie, but maybe don't, unless you think that's really cool, maybe don't worry about the 4DX part of it too much. But then it got to the point where I just started openly laughing because this is a tiny, tiny, tiny spoiler. It doesn't really ruin anything. I just want to give people an alert if they totally don't want to be spoiled at all. But of all the places for one of the scenes to take place, one of them is in a movie theater. So at that point, I'm like, my wife's not enjoying this with the moving seats. And now there's actually a tornado movie theater scene. And I just started laughing at that point. She actually liked the movie, though, when it was all said and done. And I had to give it a shout out.
I gotta be honest. When you told me you were going to see Twister with your wife, and last night I didn't know there was a movie Twister, and so I thought it had to do with the board game.
Out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, Twisters is the sequel. You're saying you didn't know the original existed?
Nope. No, somehow that got past me. Never seen Twister or Twisters. I for maybe like now somewhere deep in the cranium, I'm remembering Twister, but I sort of
Helen
forgot about
Hunt,
it.
Bill Paxton, directed by Steven Spielberg, iconic movie. I mean, even Nick knows Twister.
Yeah,
Carman movie does not make it iconic.
I mean, there's no chance. Well, let's be honest. There's no chance Nick has seen Twister, but he at least is aware of it.
Yes.
I mean,
yes,
I guess now that I think, okay, fine, moderately aware. But when you said Twisters, I literally was thinking about the board game, and I thought you were like having a party where like people were like going to be, I don't know, like hunching over each other and touching the red and touching the yellow and that whole thing versus going to a movie. So, you know, I'm learning a lot on the fly here. Now I kind of want to see the movie. Although, you know, I'm not a huge, let me sit down and be terrified for the next 2 hours. Thank you, Edward Elric. Cramps, you were old enough to see it. I got it. It's
Total Anarchy says Carm was too busy stalking Jordan when that movie came out.
That's probably true. That's probably true.
Probably
if we're doing shout outs, by the way, I will shout out the great Larry Mayer, who I saw in Arlington Heights last night, and also downtown Arlington Heights. What a scene! All the bars and restaurants as I went to see some Tom Petty cover band. Little light on the old diversity in the Arlington Heights, but I was like, oh, okay. Well, this is an interesting scene here, but you know, it was a good time last night at good old Arlington Heights, and it was nice to see Larry out there.
Wait, you were playing Twister with Larry Mayer in Arlington Heights last night?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what I did. Larry he was like, he had a great seat right in the middle of all the Tom Petty fans, and you know, it's a good time out there. AH. I think we actually do need to bring the Bears to AH so we can, you know, spice things up a little bit in the old
Stephanie
AH.
Stephanie and I were the only Hispanics there on Friday night. I can
yeah, you bet.
I can confirm that.
I'm sure you were. I'm like walking around like, oh my God, this is something. But it was a good show. Good show.
I think this was a great show.
Yeah,
it's good to be back. Mm-hmm. It's good to have training camp back. Practices start tomorrow, and I don't know. We'll see what it looks like. I hope the Bears have a bunch of these practices that are closed to the public that are actually open to the public because they invite all these. You know, they have First Responders Day and all these stuff. So I don't know what tomorrow's going to have in store of an actual crowd and excitement, but they're going to be out there on the practice field. They're going to be doing football-y things, no pads on, of course. By the way, my understanding is that the first padded practice is next Friday, the 26th. So
this is too hot of a take to end the show on, but I'm going to do it anyway. Last preseason, Jordan Love was 21 of 33. He threw for 188 yards, and he had a great damn-ass season for the Green Bay Packers. Caleb needs to throw more than 33 passes this preseason. That should be, when you're looking at past whatevers, just one last thought. More than 33. Let's go.
There you go. To answer the question in the comments, we are aiming at a 2 p.m. show once practice ends. There's interviews, things like that. So a 2 p.m. show tomorrow. And even though it's a Saturday, we're going to recap it all for you. Don't go anywhere. Go sign up. Become a diehard. ALLCHGO.com/diehard. Join Kevin and all the other new diehards out there. And you can sign up and get my Bears Things newsletter. Tomorrow will be kind of a summary of all of our content from today on top of just some extra thoughts on things. So looking forward to that. And yeah. Good show, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks.
We all silly like the mayor.